Anger, rage, desire are all parts of the human experience. And these are some of the themes that might be coming up for you this weekend on the full moon in Aries, also known as the blood moon, and it is one of the closest moons that we'll have the whole year, known as a supermoon. And this is Water Within Astrology. My name is Carly. We're here to talk about the energies, the aspects, and I'm here to break it down for you to help you understand what's going on and why you might be feeling the way that you're feeling right now. First question, are you coping? Because it's no secret that there is a lot going on in the world right now, and there will continue to be a lot coming up out of the shadows as we start to move into the darker part of the year. The wheel of the year is a reflection of the energy that we're experiencing here on Earth. As we saw with the equinox at the end of September, September 22nd, we are now in the dark half of the year. The darkness is growing greater and greater, as in the nights are shorter. The nights are longer and the days are shorter. And what we can see happening with these darker times of the year is secrets coming to light. Things that we might have been able to deal with in a more healthy way during the lighter half of the year. Now the skeletons are coming out of the closet. The unhealthy coping mechanisms. We're moving into the holiday season where it's encouraged culturally to indulge, to, escape in a way with substance and with a way of dealing with the cold half of the year. Our ancestors were dealing with the cold seasons in however they could cope, and alcohol and staying indoors, isolating, all these things have been part of our generational coding for a long, long time. We live in a society now where, yes, we still experience the cold seasons, but we all, for the most part, have homes to escape to. We have, heating and air conditioning, and we have ways of staying comfortable through the uncomfortable moments of the dark season. I'm going to break this down in true Aries fashion. I'm going to try to keep this one shorter, especially since we don't have any aspects actually occurring with the full moon itself. The full moon, as we have discussed, is an opposition between the sun and the moon. The sun's light is reflecting fully on the moon, illuminating it. The moon represents the unconscious. The sun represents consciousness. It represents the consciousness, the light of conscious thought, illuminating unconscious thought, subconscious, and etc. So what we see in this opposition is sometimes we are getting things revealed to us that we normally would not have access to in our waking moments. Think of how dreams can sometimes have messages for us, or when we do psychedelics, we get to go into those subconscious and unconscious terrains of the mind, and we get to illuminate those things, and we have new neural pathways awakened, and we are able to see things that we might have not been able to see before. In the same way, the full moon does this for us. And while it can be really uncomfortable, it is a necessary part of our growth, of our understanding, and of our integration of the shadowy parts of us, so that we can no longer be run by these shadowy parts, but start to learn how to love those parts and heal those parts, and therefore transmute and alchemize any harm that they might be causing us. With a full moon in Aries, we have the sun in Libra, and so this is a really pivotal point of the wheel of the year. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's initiatory, it's cardinal, as well as Libra is being cardinal. Well, when we use the word cardinal, we're talking about a sign that begins the season. So Aries is the first of spring, and Libra is the first of fall. Very different. Aries is newness, it's fire. Libra is, things falling away, death process beginning, the leaves starting to fall. And it's also an air sign. So when we have fire and air, we're working with inspirational energy, motivational energy. We're working with transformational energy, as air is never stagnant, fire is never stagnant, it's always moving. And we're working with masculine energy as well, as far as the archetypes go. Fire and air are both masculine signs. And when I say masculine, I mean action oriented and outright instead of passive and receptive, which is the feminine. So Aries is the first sign, like I said, and it is this moment where the soul is said to come into this world, and it is the birthing moment, and then there's blood everywhere, and there's guts everywhere, and there's fluids, and there's yelling and screaming, and painful and contractions and all this stuff. That can be chaotic, and I think we are seeing the reflection of that in our daily world today, with protests erupting, with continued death and controversial political events. And with Aries and Libra, we are having the discussion between self and other. Aries is the individual, it is the I am, it is that first sign, it's the number one, it's alone. And Libra is the scales. There are two sides to the scale, and they're equally balanced. It's the first relational sign in the zodiac. We are asked now to look at our relationships. Even though this is a full moon in Aries, we're being asked to look at where we are overcompensating, where we're people-pleasing, where we are self-sacrificing. We're asked, what is it that we need in this moment? And we are also reminded that as long as we continue to pour into others from an empty cup, perhaps, there's nothing to pour. And we're reminded that it's okay to take time to fill up our own cup so that we can continue to pour into others. Otherwise, what I would love to call burnout, especially with this fire energy, is what can occur. So this could be in relationship to work, it could be relationship to friendships, to families, to romantic. It could be anything that you are in relationship with. And there can be a tendency here to isolate with Aries. There's a tendency to put yourself first in a way that is completely neglecting of others. And, we're finding the balance. Just like every full moon, every new moon, every axis of the signs, we are working with how to balance these two energies. So maybe we're looking at our relationships and asking ourselves, is this really fueling my fire? Is this really passionate enough for me? Is it really getting me excited? Is it really serving me in a way that serves my soul growth? And while Aries is not as associated with the soul as it is with the body and with impulses and desires, it can be very primal, it's very impulsive, and it's very shadowy in a way that, a lot of the times the Aries archetype can get a really bad rap, and it can get kind of boxed in with that, like, I'm selfish and I'm impulsive and I'm this or that. But those things are still important. Our desires matter, and our desires are part of our soul's journey. And not to say that we should just listen to every impulse and we should listen to every desire, because discernment is always important. But if there's something that's on our souls and that's on our minds that we continuously are pushing to the side for the sake of others, that is going to create resentment, and it's going to create something that might explode one day. And Mars is very explosive. It's very, it can be angry. It can be war oriented. Aries is the god of war. It can, be covert in its way of sneaking up on us, and it can be, it's that moment where the baby is born and it's like an explosion of life, and that's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a powerful thing, and it should be honored, and it should not ever be stereotyped in a way of, selfishness, because it's okay to be selfish sometimes. Self-care is not selfish. And we're working with the root chakra here. We're working with safety. Chiron is in Aries right now, and it has been for a while. Chiron in Aries is about the wounding that we might have accumulated in our earliest time of life. So something that might have happened when we were born even. I think Chiron in Aries is really highlighting a masculine wound that we all have, no matter what our gender is, where, in the way that we were born, it was maybe in a hospital most likely, and it was very shocking, and it was very, disorienting. There's, strangers everywhere. There's all this sterile stuff. And what happens to all of us when we're born in a hospital? They get out that needle, and they start shooting us up with whatever is required for us to be born here in this world. And furthermore, if you have a male body, you are cut and you are traumatized from the moment you're born. And so no matter what your gender is, there's a trauma that I think we all go through in our birthing process. And I think there's a beautiful new wave of people that are continuing to build momentum around home birthing and about, creating a safer environment with, no, bright lights and no, harsh environments and sick people around and whatever else, and I'm not here to judge anybody. I know that that cultural norm is what it is. I'm just here to talk about what it could be for all of us. And this could be so subconscious for us, right? I think some people, at least in my life, I know people that have thought about that before, where they ask their parents what their birth story is and how the process went, and they can kind of get clues from that story into how trauma has manifested into our adult lives and into our childhood and etc. So maybe this is a completely new concept for you, and that's perfectly fine. It's something that is worth exploring if you're on that journey of looking deeper into your patterns and traumas as an adult. Now, the birth story is really beautiful. It's a beautiful tool to access. And so that's what another thing Chiron and Aries is definitely, I would say, pointing to. It's also healing the toxic masculine in our collective. And so this full moon might be showing us more and more where the toxic masculine has gotten out of hand, where the war mentality has gotten out of hand, where the power over structures have just gone too far. And I think a lot of us are rightfully outraged at how some of the leaders in the world have been handling certain situations, and how they continue to neglect the citizens' needs, and they continue to abuse its citizens, and they continue to this and that and that. And we're getting fed up, and rightfully so. There is a such thing as sacred rage, and like I said at the beginning of this video, rage and anger is a true part of this human experience. Now, while rage and anger are both secondary emotions, to cover up sadness and grief. I think what the anger and the rage stem from for a lot of us is how a lack of safety has been provided for us by these bodies of governments that have sworn to protect us, that have sworn to serve us. And the scapegoating is also a thing. I recognize that as well, where we blame the government, and we never do anything for ourselves individually to change. And I'm here to tell you right here now that we have the power to change our lives. And while it might not involve changing the governmental structures, when the people change the demand of something, the supply has to change, right? We live in a capitalistic society which is based on supply and demand. And the more that we as individuals demand better for ourselves in whatever way, more safety, more healthcare, more financial aid, more acceptance and inclusivity, more healthy food choices for our children, for us as well. We just continue to upgrade and to speak about what it is that we need. And knowing that our voice is powerful, knowing that our thoughts are powerful, knowing that we do have power as individuals. And yes, it might seem insignificant as just one person, but there is momentum, and we can add to the momentum of what kind of change we want to see in the world. So like I said, fire is very changeable. It is a cardinal sign, so it's initiatory. Think of like a pioneer who's blazing a trail, and it's not afraid to do what hasn't been done before. It's not afraid to take a stand. It's not afraid to say, yeah, maybe this isn't what has been done in the past, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. It breaks through what is possible, and it has the bravery and the fire to sustain that. While Aries, like I said, can be very impulsive, the Libra aspect is also helping us to understand like what is just, what is out of balance, and to hopefully bring that back into balance. And we are seeing, Libra is very relational. So it's like, it's not just about me. Does this also serve you? And those are all really important things to keep in mind. I would say one of the biggest things that we could do during this Aries full moon for ourselves is practice affirmations. I also always have my candles burning for the full moon and new moon, but I think especially now for this, especially since we're getting into that darker time of the year, the candles are really important. It represents that flame that's eternal within us, and it represents that that warmth that we can continue to cultivate throughout the cold season and throughout the dark times. We can continue to fan the flame of our own inner fire, and we can come together, because warmth is, a campfire is something that brings people together, and it is really beautiful, and it's fascinating, and it's mysterious, and it's transformational. And if you've ever sat around a campfire for a long time, maybe in like a drum circle or something like that, or maybe just like at a campsite, you can get lost in just staring in the flames. And so that's another beautiful thing that we could do is candle meditation, which is also named Traktika. Putting a candle at eye level and sitting and staring at the orange part of the flame, not the yellow part at the top, the orange part that's like a little bit closer towards the wick. Holding that gaze and, allowing that to be maybe a type of divination for you. Like if you see anything that comes through the flames, if there's images that start to appear, it's really powerful practice. But just, especially before bed, sitting with the red light is really good to calm the nervous system before bed, because we are often watching TV or, on our phones with the blue light. And so that's counteracting that, if you're looking for like those hard evidence benefits. That's the thing about a lot of this spiritual woo-woo stuff. It's like it does have the spiritual benefits, but it also, irrevocably, sorry, I lost the word for a second. It irrevocably has the scientific and the measurable benefits as well. And I think Aries is also pointing to the mind-body connection. Aries actually rules the head, because when we're born, we go head first, normally. And so that's what that is, why that is the reason it rules the head. So for me, I know that I've been having like a little bit of some headaches, and I've been like feeling burnt out with work, and I've been needing to drink extra water and really just like keep that in my mind. Like, okay, yes, I'm running all over the place, and I'm, having to rush around. Aries is very into rushing and doing things fast and quick and easy. But let's not forget our self-care. Let's not forget to drink our water. Let's not forget to, sit with our rituals and honor the full moon if that's something you like to do. Sit with our meditation or whatever it is that we need to stabilize and find our own sense of balance with the Libra. This is Libra season. We're working with that theme the whole month. And that is the only sign that is the only planet. The sun is a star, but yeah, in Libra. But we do have 3 planets in Aries, and Chiron is actually an asteroid, so it doesn't count either. I already talked about Chiron. It's there at 25 degrees of Aries. And then we also, of course, still have Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries. This full moon is happening at 14 degrees of Aries. So there's 1, 2, 3, right in the middle, right at the beginning, and almost right at the end. Kind of these 3 pillars of Aries. All 3 decans are highlighted if you understand the decans. And those are each 10 degrees of the 30-degree signs. And each one of those 10 degrees has different themes. So it's highlighting all the Aries stuff right now. And with it being in the middle, the full moon exactly at 14 degrees, it is locked into that middle part of Aries, and it's kind of like at the meat of the Aries. And so, yeah, we're looking at our wounds, we're looking at our anger, we're looking at like any repressed anger. We're maybe like being asked to transmute that. I know that art is a beautiful way to transmute the anger into art. Screaming in a pillow, kickboxing, recreationally. I think it's really interesting that there's a huge, and I know this isn't just now, but like a huge, or rather, it is a popular thing for people to be watching the fighting show, and I think it's called like FC. Yeah, I might be totally butchering that. But, like these fighters and these gladiators, these modern day gladiators, they are really popular in the mainstream. And so what does that say about us? Like, are we as a species always someone who, or people that want to turn to fighting as a source of entertainment? Have we also turned the actual wars that are happening in the world into a source of like entertainment or like trauma porn? I know that was a big thing around when the Black Lives Matter movement was happening, how there's just like this weird addiction to trauma porn, and people, people like crime shows, people like all that stuff, the murder stuff, and I don't necessarily think that there's anything wrong with it when it's used in a recreational way. Personally, that's not me. I think we, as a species, are addicted to drama, and we watch these things in order to process our own anger, and it gives us an outlet. And personally, I would like to live in a world where, we don't use violence as a source of entertainment, because it's real people that are fighting, and it's real people that are dying on these videos, and it's a lot to hold. It's a lot to cope with, and it's, like I said, very understandable that we are enraged and that we are wanting to take action, because that's what Aries wants to do. When it feels angry, it wants to react. And let us all remember that we can react, and we can react in small ways, and that can still make a big difference. For instance, changing your diet and understanding that these capitalistic societies speak the language of money, and we vote every single day with our dollars. If you're someone who, doesn't vote, or doesn't believe that your vote counts, know that your dollars do count, and they are a vote every single day, and every single day we are voting for things when we buy things. So being more selective and discerning about what we're buying at the grocery store, what we're buying in general, like what kind of clothing, and supporting fast fashion, that's definitely, I think, something that could be highlighted right now, because it's like, oh, it's a quick, it fit, it's quick, it's cheap, it's filling my needs of I need a new outfit for this or whatever, and it's like, those are impulses that ultimately are not sustainable and ultimately create a lot of harm. And yeah, I think that's a huge thing right now that I'm seeing highlighted in my sphere of people, is people are not buying fast fashion anymore. They're calling it out, in fact, and they're rebelling against it by not buying things. And I know there's a huge protest against a lot of companies right now that are compliant with the current war that is happening. And whether you call it a war or whatever you call it, that can be a really powerful way for you to take back your power. Mars is about power. And Mars is about sovereignty as well. And so where have we given away our power in a way that our desires are taking over us? And where can we reclaim our sovereignty by saying no more? I'm not going to keep funneling my money to these companies. I'm not going to keep, underfoot of these companies that I feel dependent upon. Aries is independent. Aries is self-sustainable. And it's self-regulating. It definitely has its tendencies of narcissism and, like I said, falling into traps of our desires. But ultimately, it's here to learn to stand on its own 2 feet. And that's what we all have to do before we move through life. Otherwise, we become dependent. And that's the Libra. It's I need you to validate me. That's one of the shadow sides of Libra. It's it needs you to validate it, and it needs, it's lacking in motivation for itself. Aries is motivated. What is getting you out of bed every day? What are you passionate about? What is your soul on fire for? And, in a good way. And like, we have to remember that, and we have to, like, look at, during these times of, like, chaos, like, what is our why? Why are we still showing up? Maybe you're someone who's struggling a lot right now with that, and you're feeling hopeless, and you're feeling like the anger and the grief is overcoming you. And I want you to know that you're not alone, and you are a powerful warrior that is here for a reason, to be part of this story here on earth at this time. And we are all warriors of something. And this peaceful warrior, I think the Aries Libra axis is about peaceful warrior, because Libra wants to be non-confrontational, Aries wants to fight, and it's like, let's fight for peace. I think that's the biggest lesson. And I think we are still having a lot of Jupiter and Cancer things coming up for us during this time. Jupiter and Cancer could be bringing up, like, family dynamics where the peace is not kept. Maybe we're arguing about politics. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're isolated, you know, and, like, it's calling for those things to come up and for us to deal with those, and to understand that that as well is something that influences us as adults. Is like, what kind of relationship did we have with our parents? What kind of relationship do we continue to cultivate or not with our parents? It's all relevant, and that can feel like a lot on top of what is happening in the world right now. And I don't want to overwhelm anyone, but we all have a job to do, and we all are here for a reason. We are here to understand our job, our passion project, and we are allowed to be angry when things aren't working out for us. But can we stay in gratitude even in the moments where things are not working out for us? We still have North Node in Pisces, and we are continuously being asked to come back to faith, and come back to that otherworldly sense of being protected, and being guided, and being in touch with something bigger than us. That doesn't necessarily have to mean that we are less than anything. I know there are people with religious trauma, myself included, I had a huge problem with, like, phrases like, we are weak and he is strong. Sorry to trigger. But, you know, that could be part of the Chiron and Aries that we're dealing with right now, is like any kind of religious trauma that we were brought up with, you know, to be made to feel powerless. And I think it's important for us to know and remember that, yes, there is something bigger than us, and there are forces that know and understand the plan, and maybe there is no plan, maybe there is, but we are part of the cosmic unfolding, and we are playing our role perfectly in wherever we are, and we are guided and used in a way of, like, we are channeling that higher force through us every single day. And can we listen, and can we clear out the chaos so that we can hear what it is that we need to do? And so, like, really sitting in meditation, taking time to just slow it down. Aries wants to go fast. Wants to go on an adventure. It wants to blaze that trail. It wants to get everything done at once too, and it can be very overwhelming. So we're just at the beginning here with Aries, and with a full moon, we are always letting go of what's no longer serving us. So what's standing in our way of hearing our own inner voice and inner intuition? What is out of balance within us and maybe within our relationships, that the job starts within. Like, Aries is an inside job, and everything is technically an inside job, and that can get really messy, and there's a lot of discussion around that right now. But I think we just live in a society where we have been told that we are not powerful, and I'm here to tell you that you are, and you can change anything you want, and you can do anything you want, and you have the power. Doing those affirmations specifically that start with I am are really beautiful for Aries energy. And like I said, we're working with that root chakra. So what do we need to feel safe? Jupiter in Cancer, huge theme all year. Where has our sense of safety been outsourced, perhaps? And where can we come back to our center? And where can we truly feel the fire within us and relight it if needed, and come to a new understanding of what we are passionate about, come to a new understanding of who we truly are, because that's always changing, and it's always perfect right where it is. And the anger is covering up the grief. So letting ourselves feel, Jupiter in Cancer, feeling those deep feelings. It's getting deep, y'all. Mars is in Scorpio already. Mars is the ruling planet of this full moon. Mars rules Aries, and Mars also rules over Scorpio, so it's super happy there. Mars in Scorpio is saying, let's go deeper, and let's see what's underneath that anger, and let's get into the taboos that we might ourselves have put away and pushed down and rejected, and we have wounding around perhaps with that Chiron in Aries. And can we learn to love those parts of us? Can we, if we are someone who has some weird sex kink, can we go deeper into where that's coming from, and not shame ourselves about it at all? It's not what I'm saying at all, but can we get curious about what is going on there? What is that asking? What kind of need is that filling in us, and what is it asking us to see? Scorpio season is beginning at the end of October 22nd, 21st, and we are going to have a Scorpio stellium, and we're going to have a grand water trine, Mars in Scorpio, Saturn in Pisces, and Jupiter in Cancer. It's going down, y'all. The feelings are going to be felt, and hopefully the more we can go into the sadness and the grief, we can alleviate ourselves of the anger, because it really is, the anger is pointing to the grief, and it's pointing to the sadness, and it's pointing to the lack of safety, and it's pointing to all this toxic masculinity and all this. That's the work that we can do right now. And when we do that work as individuals, we truly can serve others in a deeper way and in a more fulfilling and gratifying way, that we can feel gratified by the work that we're serving others. We are meant to serve others, but we cannot pour from an empty cup. And we are all in this together. I think it's really timely that we just saw the death of Jane Goodall happen on October the 1st. Rest in peace to her. She is a warrior of peace, and she is also highlighting the interconnectedness of nature and all beings with humanity. And she's bringing those dark aspects out of the shadows as well. She is calling out the bullshit. She is calling out what needs to be seen and what needs to be addressed, because our neglect and our avoidance and our reactivity is getting us nowhere. And wouldn't you believe it, Jane Goodall has 3 planets in Aries, including her sun, Mars, and Uranus. She was here to shake shit up, and it's so beautiful how well she was received by culture when, as a whole, fighting against animal abuse is very taboo. It's one of those things that it's like, you know, everybody seems to be very against animal abuse until it comes to veganism or someone who might be calling out the meat industry or calling out, you know, any of these heinous things that are very culturally normalized. And so it's really just beautiful to see the reaction to her death. Obviously, it's so sad that she has passed away. She lived a full life. She died of natural causes. Like, what an angel. And she was here to initiate and pioneer a new way of being and a new way of relating to the natural world. And just my heart is so grateful that she existed at all and that we were able to all collectively feel the impact of her as one individual. She is such a beautiful example of the Aries power, and you know, I just there's nothing more I could say there. It's just, she is the example, and she is a beautiful, beautiful idol that I will continue to aspire to be like. And so I hope that what I have said is helpful, and I would love to answer any questions. I would love to give you a reading if you are someone who is interested in that. We're going to end it here with drawing a rune, like I always do. My candle's about to go out. Okay, we got the one that looks like an arrow pointing upwards. Ah, okay. Beautiful. Tiwaz, the one-handed god, victory and honor. Very Aries. When we trust in that mystical force that is greater than all of us, we have already won the battle. And so there's victory in trusting in faith. And sovereignty is honor, I would say. And so Aries is asking us to reclaim our sovereignty, take back our power, keep calling out the bullshit, even if it makes people uncomfortable, even if it is very triggering and it's very, like, it's bringing up this, like, rage that most people would say is, like, this ugly side of you. It's like, we're in a time of change right now, and like I said, we're all here as warriors. We all chose to be here during this time. We chose to reincarnate during this time, if you believe that. And so we are here to do our work, and that is part of the work that we're here to do. And it's not to be nasty. It's not giving anybody an excuse to be nasty, but it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. The ugly crying, you know, like the court cases that are going to come from calling out, like, that's so Libra. Like, we're calling out the bullshit, Aries, and then we're going to take these people to court, and we're going to get it in writing, and we're going to get shit taken care of, and we're going to get it back into balance, period. Okay, so I had the World card on the bottom of this deck. I'm using my Energy Oracle deck, my first ever deck that I've ever had, and I haven't used it in a while, so fire feels like just like pure energy, you know, like it's just like, what is it? So we're gonna look at these cards. Thank you so much to this Oracle deck for always being there from the very beginning. The first deck, first sign. I didn't mean to do that. That's perfect. What card do we need from this Energy Oracle deck to help us to understand a little bit deeper about the energies of this Aries blood moon? These cards are so old, y'all. Oh my god, yeah. So we got the action card, and there is reversed meanings here. So it came out reversed, and I'm going to read that reversed. And so it's actually like not taking action, or it's about like, yeah, what kind of action can we take that is maybe not so outright and seen? Like Mars and Scorpio can be like behind the scenes action, like internal work, like psychological work, like maybe going to therapy or like stuff like that. Action is the accelerant that ignites your desires, but when this card is reversed, you might find that something is missing in your determination or your follow through. Being impulsive. Perhaps you've been engaging in more wishful thinking than any consistent effort. Or perhaps you need to make some adjustments in what you're paying attention to. Create a structured plan. Then make sure you take daily action. Remember, we just came out of eclipse season. We had 2 Virgo eclipses. What's going on? Like with our habits, with our rituals, with our health, with our, how are we showing up every single day? And now it's like, we're not just planning. Virgo can be like, all right, let's make a plan. Aries is like, now we're going to put that plan into action, period. No more excuses. It's zero bullshit, okay? Aries does not take bullshit. Create a structured plan and make sure you're taking daily action. This will move you closer to your goals. Be flexible, yes, yet persistent, and ever conscious of your ability to act on your own behalf. Yep, you can't make this shit up, guys. I really don't feel like I need to elaborate on that because it's like exactly what I just said. Be ever conscious of your ability to act on your own behalf. You have the power. If you're in a place where you're not feeling safe, get out of there. If you're in a place where you yourself are mentally putting yourself through things that are not making you feel safe, change your thoughts. When you change your thoughts, you change your life. Dr. Wayne Dyer, boom, best ever. He was also like the first spiritual teacher that I ever came across. And so if you want to look into his stuff, Dr. Wayne Dyer is incredible. I'll link him below. I am responsible. Oh, there's an affirmation with these cards. Here it is. Getting ahead of myself. Very Aries. I am responsible for my own life. I take action towards my goals and my own happiness every day. Yep. Finding healthy ways to cope, guys. Aries can really go off the handle with all that schnapps. So just breathe. Be here now. Be present. Always. Don't ignore. But don't get swept away in the reaction. And there's always a balance. It's not easy. Aries is not an easy sign, especially when its ruling planet is in Scorpio. It's super, super strong. Let's go deep with that energy of Scorpio. This is kicking off Scorpio season early, guys. It's secrets are coming out. It's time to get down to work with our own minds and with our own relationship to our own power, with our relationship to taboos, with our relationship to all the Scorpio things. We're gonna not get into that too much, but I think the Mars in Scorpio is definitely like, what kind of work do we need to do internally? What kind of work do we need to do to go into those taboos that we hold ourselves and, deal with our anger, deal with our rage, because honestly, if you're not angry, you're not paying attention. Hate to say it, but also I am here to support anyone who needs the support, and I really appreciate you if you have stayed to the end of this video. And I will see you again in 2 weeks for the new moon in Libra.